This is Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us today for Live with Annie. As usual, we've started the stream a bit early. This helps us get everything set up and broadcasting properly to our various platforms. You can find a countdown clock on the screen showing how long it will be until we actually go live. While you wait, please connect with us and other viewers in the chat. Let us know where you are from and whether you're a new or longtime viewer. We'll see you live soon! Thanks again for joining us for Live with Annie. We are so happy to have you with us today. While you wait for the program to start, we hope you'll enjoy the content playing on screen. There's so much inspiration, so take a moment to tell us what you love in the chat. Don't forget there is a countdown clock on the screen so you know how long until we go live. It's Annie again, reminding you that we'll be going live with this week's episode shortly. There is a countdown clock on the screen showing how much time is left. You've got just enough time to grab some water or a beverage of your choice and a snack, and to connect with us in the chat. We'd love to hear what you've been working on this week. back to remind you that we'll be starting this week's live very shortly. We've got a really fun episode planned for today, and we'll see you soon. Hello, you're catching me at the last minute here. Hi, I am Annie of Patterns by Annie and ByAnnie.com, and I'm really happy to see you all joining us today for episode 5 of season 5 of Live with Annie. So today we are going to have a special guest with us, Stacy Murray of Old Town Quilt Shop in Orcutt, California. And we're going to talk to Stacy about the joys and challenges of owning a quilt shop. And we're going to learn about Old Town's B.A.G or ByAnnie Groupies Club. Along the way, we are going to talk about lots of ByAnnie projects and testicular cancer too. And we're going to share some tips and tricks, so stay tuned. It has been a really busy spring here at ByAnnie. In mid-March, we introduced 4 fabulous new colors of zippers: coral, lilac, olive, which I grabbed at the same time, and orchid. And we filmed a really fun video to show you how well these lovely zippers work with lots of fabrics. You will find that on the product page for Zippers by the Yard at ByAnnie.com or on our YouTube channel. And we'll put up the links to make them easy for you to find. Before we go on, I noticed that someone who responded to the event notice for today asked if I could show how these colors look with some of Tula Pink's fabrics that she must be considering for a project, so I thought we'd just start with that. So she has Hello Dahlia in Cosmic, I believe, and Light the Way in Nova, and she wanted to see how the zippers look with those. And so if you look at the coral I think goes fabulously with the coral that's in the Light Your Way. It also looks really nice with the flowers that are there. The orchid blends in really nicely with the purples in the Light Your Way and also with the purples in this fabric. The lilac is a nice contrast to that, and it goes really well with some of the blues and purples in the flowers here. And then the olive is a little darker than this green, but I think it would be a good option too. So depending on the project you're doing and how many different colors you want, these would probably be my first 2 choices, but I think any of them would work well. So hopefully that's helpful, and I forgot to see who it was who asked that question, but hopefully you're watching and that helps you get your zippers picked for your project. She said no one in her area had them yet. So hopefully they're getting those too. I am going to get these out of the way and we will move on. So the other thing that's keeping us busy here is that we're in the final stages of finalizing our new patterns that we will be announcing in May. So we have been filming and editing videos for all of them. We're also really super busy cutting, quilting, and sewing new models for our pattern covers, for our marketing, our catalogs, and our trunk shows. Right now, our unmade models list shows over 100 new models in various stages of production. So wish us luck getting those done, or better yet, send some sewing fairies our way. We could really use them. I hope that you're enjoying some sewing projects too, and that you're staying happily busy. We know that there are at least a million things you could be doing right now, so we really appreciate it when you take the time to join us, whether you're watching us live or catching us on the replay. Please make sure to follow us wherever you are watching, and we send a huge thank you to all of you who helped us reach a really big milestone last month. We are now at over 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. And it means a lot that so many of you value our content and have stuck around with us for so long. But that being said, if you enjoy our videos and you aren't currently subscribed, please consider doing that. Over half of our viewership on YouTube has not subscribed. Subscribing guarantees that you will see our videos when they come out. It also really helps us know that you enjoy the content that we provide and that you want to see more. We would really love to reach some even bigger milestones and hope that you'll help us get there by clicking on the subscribe button. And of course, if you know someone else who you think might enjoy the info that we share, please tag them so that they can check it out too. And we absolutely love reading your comments, so don't be shy. Drop your thoughts in the chat as we go. And if you've got any questions, just throw them in there too, and we'll do our best to answer them before we wrap up. In our last episode, we celebrated local quilt shops and announced all the winners in our 8th annual local quilt shop contest. It was so much fun to see the diversity of stores around the world and to read your comments about what makes them all so special. I am always so inspired by the stories, and I love sharing them with you. I just have to say, there are some amazing stores out there, aren't there? If you missed that episode, or if you want to watch it again, remember that you can find all the previous 187 episodes of Live with Annie on our YouTube channel or at ByAnnie.com/live, L-I-V-E. The episodes will also be available on our Facebook page, but only for 30 days due to policy changes at Meta. So we highly recommend that you watch Live with Annie on YouTube. One of the great things about our lives is the community we all build with the live chat feature. And when Facebook deletes the older streams, they are also going to delete all the comments, which is really a bummer because I enjoy reading them. We would love to be able to keep all of the conversation that's been generated and keep it forever. And right now, YouTube is the best place for that. So please consider joining us for Live with Annie there. And we've put up all the links to make them easy for you to find. I have got to have a drink of water before I move on. So as I said, today I have the pleasure of chatting with Stacy Murray from Old Town Quilt Shop in Orcutt, California. Stacy and her mom, Michelle, are not only the owners of this wonderful shop, which was the regional winner for California in last year's local quilt shop contest, but they are also leaders in the sewing and quilting community. I always enjoy visiting with Stacy and Michelle at Quilt Market as they are always full of fun and inspiring ideas. This year, Old Town Quilt Shop is hosting some fun monthly classes to bring bag making enthusiasts together. Their B.A.G club, which stands for ByAnnie Groupies, sounds like so much fun, and I can't wait to learn more. So please help me welcome Stacy Murray of Old Town Quilt Shop.
Hi there. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so great to have you here. I have heard so many wonderful things about your shop, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about it and your amazing community of quilters. So I'd like to start with just having you tell us a little bit about Old Town Quilt Shop, how you came to be, what products you sell, what makes it special.
So our shop just recently celebrated 20 years in business, which is pretty amazing for a small quilt shop. My mom actually had moved up here to the Central Coast from San Diego, and she was first a customer at the shop, and then she became an employee, and then a partner. And then she went ahead and bought the business from the previous owner. But her background was definitely not retail, and mine was. So she wanted to see if I could come up, from San Diego and help her with the business. It took me about a year, but I was able to come up here. And one of her requirements for me helping was that I had to learn how to quilt. So I took the beginning quilting class, and here we are 9 years later, and we are just working really hard at building up the business and building up our classroom. We have a really unique space to our area. We can fit 20 people in there. And so we've worked super hard at really engaging our community and getting the customers into the classroom and, really helping them with their quilting. So it's been a lot of fun with that.
That's awesome. And a classroom of 20 is a good sized classroom. That's really awesome that you've got that much room for people. It's really fun too to hear how your shop has become such an important part of the quilting community. Can you tell us a little bit about the products and services that you offer to your customers?
So we are a bright, fun, and happy shop. We have we carry all the major manufacturers. We have a really good color wall where we have all of our basics, the solids, and just any kind of blender type things. We also have a really well stocked notions wall, so we try to keep that up to date with things that quilters are in need of and things that they never knew that they needed. Plus, of course, we have patterns and the ByAnnie patterns and notions and hardware and all the things that you need to make a ByAnnie bag.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for carrying our patterns and products. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure your customers do as well. I know that a lot of people assume that running a quilt shop means you get to buy all the fabric and then just sit and sew to your heart's content. What's the reality there?
Definitely not that. The reality is a lot of customer service, of course, because you've got customers coming in, and that's the most fantastic part about it. But it's also a lot of answering emails and answering the phone, filling web orders, just doing all those menial tasks that have to get done. But it is a lot of fun to have the shop. However, there are times like when we're kneeling on the floor replacing the ironing board cover, which I just did about 2 weeks ago, that we say this should be the picture of a day in the life of a quilt shop owner, because some things are just not fun. But overall, we have a really good time with it.
Yeah, amen. I often think I wish people could follow me around for a week and see what's involved in coming up with a pattern, because I don't think people have any concept of that either, all of the steps that are included in doing that. So with all the amazing choices of fabric and patterns and notions that are out there, how do you as a shop owner narrow it down and not just break the bank and buy it all? That's got to be a really tough job.
It is a tough job. So, the reps, they come to us and we just have to sit there and we look at it. My mom and I do this together, and we kind of sit there and look at it and we say, what can we do with it? What can our customers do with it? What's on trend? What's popular right now? What do we think our customers might like to do? And so then that's how we decide.
All right. How often do you bring in new lines of fabric?
So the reps come to us about every quarter. And so that's about how often we get new things in. Although there's new stuff coming all the time because we're always ordering basics and notions and things like that.
So you make your choices about once a quarter, but then as things ship on different dates, there's always something new coming into the store.
Exactly.
So I hear you say that your reps come in. Do you also buy when you go to market, or do you reserve that for other things?
So the reps, it's really nice having the reps come in. It gives us some time, with our fabric that we currently have to decide, does the new stuff go with our current fabric? So at market, because the reps come to us, we generally don't see reps at market. We save that for finding the newest, notions and gadgets and coming to see what new fun things everybody has. So it's more fun that way, I think.
Yeah. And that makes sense because there is always so much to see at market. How would you figure it out otherwise? So when you are looking at fabric with the reps, how long does it usually take you to decide? And how do you keep from buying it all? Do you usually buy a whole line? I mean, I can imagine sitting there and wanting every single thing they show me. How do you narrow it down?
A lot of times it is looking at it and going, I want everything that they have, but we have to think about money. But then we also have to think about, what our customers like. So we really don't have a whole lot of time with the reps, maybe an hour or two. And so we just have to kind of take that time and really focus. My mom and I have differing opinions on things. And so we keep each other in check and, we say, what can we do with that? And if we can't think of anything right away, then we don't get it.
Move on. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Glo and I are kind of that way when we choose colors of zippers and fabrics for a project. She'll like something, I'll like something else. And when we finally come to the point that we both like what's there, then it's like, okay, that's the one that we'll do. Because otherwise you you have too much to do. That's for sure. So
Right.
when the reps come, do you have a budget that you have to spend, and are you good at sticking to that?
We should have a budget, but no, we don't.
So you just buy it.
No,
Have you made any
we just
buying mistakes over the years?
Oh, definitely. We'll see something that we just fall in love with, and we can come up with a ton of things to do with it. So we buy it. Maybe we don't buy the whole collection of hardly anything, but maybe we'll buy, numerous pieces of it, and we'll bring it in and we think, wow, this is really going to sell. And it sits there and it sits there. We'll make a sample and it sits there. And then other times we'll purchase something that, maybe the rep says, oh, this is my best selling, collection. And so we'll buy it even though we're really not sure of it. And then it flies off the shelf. So it's a gamble every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's got to be hard. I get it. Wouldn't it be really nice if you just had a crystal ball and you'd know exactly which ones would do the best in your area? Because I'm sure 100 miles away, the choices may be totally different as well.
Definitely.
Do you ever special order things in for your customers?
Not fabric, but definitely notions. We will order notions, if we can get it. And we always encourage our customers to please check with us first before they go ordering it somewhere else. If it's something that we find that we can't get, we're happy to see if maybe another local shop has it or can get it, or even help them, find it online or something like that. But yes, we will special order things for people.
That's awesome. That's really helpful. And I'm sure your customers appreciate that a whole lot. So you mentioned earlier that yourself and your mom are involved in the business, and I know my sweet friend Linda worked at the store before she went off and moved to Washington, and I bet you really miss her. I'm wondering, do you have other staff at the shop?
We do, and we definitely miss Linda. I know she's watching right now. We wish that she was back here with us. She was such a great addition to the shop. But yes, we have one other person, Dolores, and she is fantastic. She is so patient with our customers. She's actually the one who teaches our beginning class. And she's also wonderful with color and selecting fabric for our customers. But that's it. It's just my mom and I and Dolores.
Wow, you've got to be really, really busy and really hands-on with everything. So I'm curious how you manage it all. I often say I'm glad that we are not open to the public because we're so busy every day, and having, people coming in. I mean, obviously it's great and you have to have that as a brick and mortar store. But how do you manage to do everything that needs to be done, and what does a typical day in the life of a shop owner look like?
So you kind of have to get your things done in between customers. I'll take yesterday as an example. We had a ton of receiving come in. I was dead slow in the morning, and then as soon as lunchtime came and I was about ready to heat up my lunch, a customer came in. So there went lunch, and there went the bathroom break. So you kind of just have to do it in between. A person will leave, so I go heat up my lunch really quick, come back, and then someone else comes in. So you just some days are like that, and other days it's just crazy busy, and other days are just really slow. So you kind of fit it in where you can. I do tend to come in about an hour early, so that gives me some quiet time to do emails or bills or whatever it is that needs to get done, vacuuming the shop. And then once you open your doors, you just kind of wing it from there. I also will stay late. I have to clean the classroom after the people leave, or finish up the receiving. Like yesterday I had to finish up the receiving. So every day is a mix of customer service and behind the scenes business tasks, and then trying to just fit some type of creativity in there somewhere so you don't go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for me, my weekend is when I try to get caught up with everything that I didn't get done during the week. And it doesn't always happen. Some days you just have to put in really long days, which keeps you out of trouble, I guess. So,
Yes.
Especially when people are coming in and out of the store, that's got to be a chore. I'm curious how you go ahead and go down, Glow, because I can't remember what I was going to say next. We've talked about that. We've talked about balancing it and how you keep up with that. Go ahead and go down, Glow. I have to write these scripts out because I don't remember what I'm going to ask. Oh, this was my next question was, do you ever get a chance to sew at the shop? Or is that just impossible to fit in?
So I do get to sew at the shop occasionally, when we have downtime. We have a sewing machine set up on a little table in the back of the shop. So if it is slow and I have a project to work on and I bring my stuff with me, then yes, I can definitely sew. Many a sample has been sewn in the shop as opposed to at home.
Yeah, which is great if you can make that work. And it's probably fun too for customers to come in and see you working on something, and if they've got questions about a certain technique or what you're making, it's a good chance to be able to show that right there firsthand. So I'm going to ask
Definitely.
you a true confessions time here. How many unfinished quilter bag projects do you have hidden in your shop or home sewing room? And I want you to be honest.
So honestly, I don't have that many. Um, Maybe 10. I had to kind of go back and think about that. And I really don't have that many because most of what I do is stuff for the shop. I don't have a whole lot of time to do stuff for myself. So I don't have very many things that are, unfinished for myself. As far as things that I want to do, but haven't had a chance to start, I have a lot more of those.
I can certainly relate to that. And definitely having deadlines, like if you're sewing it for the shop and it's for a class that's coming up, or for me it's for trade shows or trunk shows, that is really good incentive to get things done. And I'm very impressed to hear that you only have 10, because I remember many years ago, probably before I even started ByAnnie, I started a list of unfinished quilt projects that I had, and I stopped when I got to 100. And I don't think I even ever finished most of those. I was in the guild and I was taking classes and going to things and being inspired what everybody else was doing. And all I did was add to that list. But in my defense, I do much better when it comes to bag making. And I think that's because these projects come together so much more quickly. So that makes it much easier to finish them. And I always think that I'm going to get some sewing done during the workday, but I that hardly ever happens. So weekends are when I find time for sewing. Um, Tell me about your fabric stash. How hard is it not to cut a yard of every single thing new that comes into the store?
Sometimes it's pretty hard. My stash is not that big. I don't have a whole lot of room to keep everything, and most of what I have is leftovers from sewing shop samples. But as far as how hard it is to not cut a little bit of everything, sometimes it's really hard. However, I find that if I wait, then sitting there and staring at the fabric all day, every day kind of helps that impulse to take some right away dye. And then I'm able to kind of curate my stash in a way to the things that I really, really want, and know that I'm going to do something with. So that helps it a lot.
That's a really smart idea, and I think that makes sense. Knowing that all that fabric is there and that more is going to come in tomorrow probably really does make it easier not to take everything home right now. That I understand for sure. So does Old Town Quilt Shop have a typical customer? Are your customers mostly quilters or bag makers, or do you have some of each?
So we definitely do have some of each, but they are mainly quilters. Although they are quilters who have been quilting for a really long time, they have a huge stash. Everyone in their family and friends, they all have quilts. So I'm trying to encourage them to maybe branch out a little bit into bag making or even sneaker making, something else to get them just outside of their comfort zone. But definitely, it's quilts for the win. But I have a feeling that our typical customer may change. With the closure of Joann's, they're going to be searching for other places to source their fabrics and their notions. So we're hoping that, we'll get those customers in and see how we can fill their needs. So maybe get some new people in and open our eyes too to different things.
Are you debating about adding some garment fabrics and things like that for people who want to do wearables?
That's a tricky one. We kind of dabbled in clothing a little bit. It's really hard to be a quilter and go into sewing, and I think vice versa. The seam allowances are just obnoxiously different. I have done a little bit of that, but I think, we carry a few things for clothing, and so, but it's really hard then, you only carry one thing. Well, they don't want that one thing, and so then it sits there. So I don't know. It's hard to kind of just have a little bit of this and a little bit of that when it comes to the clothing. I think you have to go all in or nothing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I totally get that. It's going to be a really an interesting thing to see how that plays out over the coming year or more to see how people do that. So if quilters and bag makers had a showdown, who do you think would win? How do they compare?
So I have a very diplomatic answer for this one. So they're both, they have strengths, in their own ways. But I think that, the bag makers are sprinters and the quilters are marathoners. So with the bag making, it goes very quickly and you're finished in a few days, but it takes, a lot of strength to do that. You've got to, wrestle all those pieces and you have to put the binding on, and sometimes that can be hard. And then the quilters, sometimes that quilt can take them days, weeks, even months. I had a quilt that took me a year to do. So they're definitely, in it for the long haul. So, I think they have their strengths in equal measure, but I'm pretty sure that my bag makers at my shop rock.
Very diplomatic answer and well said. I never thought of that as myself as a sprinter rather than a marathoner, but that definitely fits me. And I think that's why I had so many unfinished quilting projects. I would just burn out. I would get tired of making the same thing over and over again. And I needed something that gave me a little bit more instant gratification. So I'd move on to the next thing and not go back and finish it. So that's a good way to look at it. So what do you do to inspire your customers, build community, and keep everyone coming back?
So we have a lot going on at our shop. We have classes all the time. Our classroom is full. We are actually booked from now until the end of 2026. So we have a ton of stuff. We have Just Get It Done the first Monday of every month, and that originated as a block of the month class, but everyone said we have too many block of the months. Can we just not do those but still meet? So we have that to kind of encourage people to finish some of their unfinished projects. And then we have a couple of open sews every single month. That's open to all, so anybody can come to that. We also do our own shop retreats. So we have 6 retreats a year that we as a shop sponsor. And that's just 3 days of coming in and sewing. And what's fun about those is that my mom and I also get to sew. We get to sit out there and sew with our customers. And so they really enjoy that. It kind of brings it down to a more personal level for them. So that's a really popular thing in our shop. And then we also have something called Pajamboree, which that one originated from watching a Hallmark movie, but it's a lot of fun. So we come, it's a couple of days of sewing in our pajamas. We have games and prizes, and we always have some little treat. So we've done a potato bar. We've done an ice cream sundae bar. This last one in the holidays, we did some gift giving games, and that was a lot of fun. And then we also have a weekly live video on Facebook every Wednesday at 5 p.m. So we'll have one today. And so that helps our customers really engage with the fabric that we've gotten in every week, and we talk about our classes. But the most fun thing, and the reason that we're here, is our Bag Ladies Club. So, the B.A.G is ByAnnie Groupies. And so that's, once every month, and we do a ByAnnie project. And that has been really a lot of fun. We've gotten a lot of really good response to that, and gotten some of our quilt makers to come in and do some of the simpler bags. So it's a lot of fun. We, really try to engage with our customers as much as we can and get them in. And our classroom is a key part of that.
I do not know how you get all that done. That is a tremendous amount of special events in addition to running a business and keeping the stock and keeping the store clean and stuff. I'm really impressed. So I definitely want to talk some more about that BAG club. So Bag Club. I remember when you came to market last year in Houston and you gave me a piece of paper with some questions to fill out. It asked some fun questions about some of my favorite things, like what was my favorite color, food, tools, and more. And it was really fun to me to hear how you planned to use that list. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about how you took that and turned that into a program.
Yeah, so I had the idea of having a bag club because we have pretty much a regular contingent of people who come in and want to make the bags. And I thought, it'd be really fun if we did something every single month and got everybody together. And it's not an exclusive club, like you don't have to pay a membership. It's not always the same people. We've definitely had some new people come in, but I wanted to do something every single month. And then I thought, let's call it the Bag Club. And then it came to me, well, BAG, B-A-G, could stand for ByAnnie Groupies. And if we're going to be groupies, then we kind of need to get to know you better. So I came up with a list of questions. I asked Linda if you would be amenable to answering those questions since she knows you better than I do. She's a tester for you. And she's like, yeah, just ask her the questions. So it took me about 15 times at market to be able to get to you, to get that list to you, to get the questions. But then my idea for your answers on those was to pair them up with a ByAnnie project. I'm not going to say bag, I'm going to say project. And then do that project every single month as kind of a way to help us get to know you a little bit better, and then also to kind of sharpen our skills at bag making. And so that's how that all came about. So it's been a lot of fun. And then I also made t-shirts for it, or had t-shirts made.
I love that.
Yes.
Those are really awesome. I'm so excited to know that I have groupies out there. Makes me feel like a rock star. So I think people would be curious to know what the questions you asked and then what projects you featured. And so I thought we'd run through those, and I've got models of everything that you're planning to do. So we'll talk a little bit about those. So can you just start at the beginning and tell us what the question was and what project you picked to go with it?
Definitely. Okay, so I have my list here, so excuse me for looking at it. So I'm going to go in order of the month that we're doing it, as opposed to in the order of the list of questions that I gave you. So the first question is the preferred way to unwind, which was reading and napping while watching TV. So for that one, I figured, well, let's do it in January, and we can do this snuggle pillow, which isn't technically your pattern, but it is on your website. And this got some of my non-bag makers in. I even had a teenager in my class because it happened to be on a day that she had no school. So it was really great to see all these different people. I had, experienced bag makers in there, along with, people who are mostly just quilters. So it was a nice way to kind of get the two together. I even have not just a teenager, but some beginners in there, beginning quilter people. So it was a good way to get everyone together and have a lot of fun. So I was really pleased because everybody finished their top. And for one of our classes, that's not always the case. So I was really happy with that one. So
That's
there
awesome.
They all are with their
I
fun
wanted
pillow
to
tops.
have Jake put this on screen so I could show the pillow. So this is called the Snuggle Pillow, and this is designed by our friend Lynn Wilson, who's in Australia. We distribute her patterns here in the U.S. So it's a really fun pillow that you can make using 2.5-inch strips. So if you've got leftover jelly rolls or pieces that you've cut for projects, this is a really great way to use them. And she instructs you how to put them together in different ways, and then put that on a backing and quilt it, and then she does just an envelope style backing on the back with some Velcro closure. But really a nice way, if you've got leftover fabrics from a quilt that you made, to make some pillow shams to go with it, to throw on the bed or throw on the sofa or let the kids use when they're laying on the floor watching TV. So this is, again, the Snuggle Pillow, and a really fun design by Lynn Wilson. All right, what was next?
Okay, so next is your favorite candy, and you said chocolate, which, good girl. Who doesn't love chocolate? So
I
we, of
agree.
course, had to do that one. Yes. So, of course, we had to do that one in February because Valentine's Day. And I chose the Contain Yourself pattern because you need big, giant boxes to hold all of that chocolate in. And so this one was really a good tool to get some of the novice bag makers in because it gave them a chance to use the soft and stable, but they didn't have to do any homework, so they didn't have to quilt anything. There was no hardware, no zippers, something very easy, but it got them used to the actual soft and stable. And then, of course, making the handles. So that one was a really good one. Just about everybody finished at least one box. Some got 2 of them done. So that one was a really fun one. And we love the different sizes of everything. I think one of my students is using one of her Contain Yourselves for her ByAnnie patterns, and she has them all set up in there.
That's fabulous. And actually, when we designed this pattern, we designed them to go on IKEA shelves. So if you do like the IKEA bookshelves, the Billy bookcases, I think they're called, these will fit perfectly on each side. You can put 2 of these next to each other in each opening, and then the little ones you can just fill in wherever. The thing that I always like to tell people about this project is if you have 1 yard of your main and 1 yard of your lining, you can make the full set of all 3 sizes. And so they'll all have the same outside fabric and the same line, although you could mix and match it because you cut the linings a little bit different from what you cut the main fabric because they fold around and make this faux binding at the top, but super easy to do. This pattern also includes instructions for coming up with your own custom size of container. So once you've made one or more, you're going to understand what's the length versus the width versus the depth, and then you can plug in your numbers. It's got all the formulas that you can make them whatever size you want. So it's a really fabulous pattern. This is a set that I made using Tula Pink's Roar fabric, and I had to get a little, this is kind of like the next step after you've mastered making them. We had to fussy cut the fabric to fit the border design on here. So we had to seam them at the bottom and, had to think really hard where the pieces needed to fall out to get that border going all the way around. But I just think those turned out so fun. And these really are fabulous. A lot of times I'll take my leftover pieces of Soft and Stable and roll them up, and they fit really nice in here. If you've got stabilizer rolls, if you're an embroiderer, these are really nice for organizing your sewing room. So that is Contain Yourself, and super fun for a second project. I love that idea. What's next?
Okay, so the next one was your favorite tool, and you said the ByAnnie stiletto and pressing tool. And I just have to say that until I started making bags, I was not a fan of the stiletto. My mom's like, oh, you have to use a stiletto. And, it's one of those things, okay, yeah, sure, Mom, whatever. Every time I used it, I felt like I needed another hand just to hold it. So I wasn't a huge fan until I started making the bags and putting that binding on. Man, oh man, that stiletto is the best. And yours is the best because I love the sanded metal at the end on the actual stiletto. That's key right there. And the fact that it doesn't roll away. I like that. So in order to get my students to love the stiletto also, I chose, and this was the March project, I chose the Call Me bag. And the reason I did the Call Me is because you've got that binding and you have to do, the binding becomes the strap. And so the stiletto is super helpful in holding that strap down. I had several people who adjusted their Call Me. Some of them squared the ends instead of rounding them, or they extended the pocket up. But everybody finished, and I was so proud of them. They did such a good job. I love seeing the pictures of the ladies. They were all so proud of themselves. And again, some of them are not bag makers at all. And this was way beyond, what they thought of their skill level. And they were so proud of themselves for finishing. I was so happy with them. They did such a great job. And the Call Me is a fun pattern. It's easily giftable. And I heard many of my students say that they couldn't wait to make another one. So that one was really a great one. We enjoyed having that one.
That's really fun. And if you haven't made Call Me is part of our ByAnnie Basics. So it's a free pattern that's available to download at our website. We also make it available for quilt shops who want to do classes as a printed pattern. They come in packs of 25 full color patterns. So that's another way that you can get it. If you want to buy it and gift it to friends, you can order it that way too. What I love about Call Me is that I can carry my phone. There's a little mesh pocket on the back where your phone can fit in. I can carry my credit cards here, and I use these when I go to quilt shows because I can put my name tag that I have to get into the show in there. And at the end of the day, when we get in the car to drive home, we all hang them over the visor or the seat back in front of us so that they're sitting there right there ready to go when it's time for the show the next day, and we're not mad rushing trying to figure out where we left our name tags from the day before. So we designed it to have a vinyl pocket there, and the great thing about this little project is that you learn to work with vinyl, you learn to put a zipper in a quilted fabric pocket, and you learn to work with fold over and mesh in a tiny little project so it doesn't involve a lot of time or materials. There are ways you can customize it. On this one, I skipped the vinyl pocket on the outside and I put a fabric pocket on here. I made this one last month for colorectal cancer last month. And this was their ribbon is a combination of a ribbon and a star. I appliqued that onto the front, but just another way to make it If you want to try some different materials, we made this one out of cork, so we skipped doing any quilting on it. But if you have never worked with cork and you want to see what it's like, a small project like this is a great way to kind of branch out and be able to try it without, again, a huge investment of time or money, and you'll understand its qualities then when you want to do maybe a bigger project. So, and the stiletto, I have to agree, is just the best. We sent these tips to a needle making factory and they sand grind them for us, which makes them just rough enough, not so rough that they're going to snag on anything, but they really hold your fabric in place when you pull it over, and your hand isn't constantly sliding off and making you tired. And they're turned, they're really light, and like she said, when you drop it, it stays there. It's not rolling around and you're crawling around on the floor. The older I get, the harder it is to crawl around on the floor. So that's Call Me. So thank you for doing that one.
Yes, that was a fun one. Okay, so for April, we have your favorite TV show, which is British Baking Show, which I found interesting. Must just be some good downtime for you.
It is. I sit down at night while I eat dinner and I turn on the TV, and I mean, I watch other things too. But some of them I didn't think were probably the best things to mention. British Baking Show seemed, easy. And usually what happens is I finish eating and then I go snuggle in on the sofa and I have a really good nap. So all of a sudden the thing's over and I have no idea why they won, but maybe I like it because it's good at getting me to just relax a little bit.
Exactly. Well, I'll have to quiz you on some of those other shows. Maybe they'll make for a good a good project next year.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Yeah. So for this month, we're choosing the Easy Flip and Sew placemat. I was going to give the choice of the Easy Flip and Sew or the Sew a Pretty Table, but most of the people wanted to go ahead and do the Easy Flip and Sew. Again, for a novice person, this is fantastic because a lot of people have not done the quilt as you go method or the bringing the back around to be the binding method. So this is a nice, easy one, and I feel like they'll be able to finish. Part of the goal of the Bag Ladies was to be able to finish by the end of the day. And so this is something they'll easily be able to finish one or, more placemats in the whole day. So that one will be a lot of fun.
For sure. So this set, I really love the easy say it again, flipping. My mind is totally blank. Easy Flip and Sew. Okay. And what I think is fun is seeing how different it looks made in different fabrics. So here's one that we made with a fabric from Benartex. I think it was called Blue Jacoby. I've had this one for a long time. Here's the same mat made with Kaffe fabrics, and you can see how very different it looks just depending on your choice of fabric. But what makes these awesome is that you take your Soft and Stable, and we have pre-cut pieces of this packaged 4 in a pack, so you can buy them all ready to go. You don't even have to trim them, but you mark lines on them so that you know where to align your pieces to do the flip and sew sewing. So it makes it super easy. If you were trying to do that on batting, the batting would shift and move around, and you wouldn't have a nice rectangular piece when you get done. So you assemble your whole top of your mat, and then you align it on top of your backing, and your backing folds around to make your binding that goes around the outer edges. You can see it a little bit better on here because it's a different fabric. And the great thing is then you have a completely reversible mat. And if you look at this, the Soft and Stable is only attached around those outside edges, but when I let go, it acts almost like a magnet, and it just pulls that fabric back into place and gives you just a really nice way to cushion and decorate your table. So that's the Easy Flip and Sew, and then both of these mats are made using the Set a Pretty Table pattern. So this one is designed to use leftover 2.5-inch strips. Everything on here is made from a 2.5-inch strip, where this one uses a few larger pieces and longer strips in there. But you start by doing the center, and then you just start adding borders around. And these are fun to do. Well, any of them would be fun, but they're really great if you want to do a special set of placemats for the holidays, or a housewarming gift or something like that, because they're quick and easy to do, and Soft and Stable washes beautifully. Throw them in the washer and dryer. I usually have to give them a little bit of a press when they come out if the backing's going to show, but they'll just last for a long, long time. So that's a really fun project. I can't wait to see pictures from that class.
Me too. Okay, so the next one is your favorite food, which is tacos. And so we are doing that in May, and we're doing the clam up. And this is just how my brain works.
I
So
loved it.
I chose the clam up because, hello, they look like tacos.
Amen.
And we're doing it in May because of Cinco de Mayo. You know, here in California, Cinco de Mayo is probably a bigger thing than anywhere else. But that's just how I grew up. And so we are doing the clam up, which we'll talk about this later, but it's not my favorite, but it was definitely asked for.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, clam up is one of our very top selling patterns. And I think people like it, one, because they're easy, two, because there's 5 sizes in them. So they're great for making as gifts. They're great for using up little bits of fabric from your stash. And once you've made one and understand the process, they're just really fun to make. The pattern is designed so you can make it without quilting, which is how we made all of these. There's no quilting at all on them, or you can quilt the fabrics if you want. So a lot of times if we have leftover quilted fabric from another project, we'll just cut out a clam up or two, and then I've got something to have on hand as a gift if I need a quick gift. We also designed the pattern so that if you want to put our iron-on vinyl on the inside to make it a wipe clean lining, you can do that. So we usually do that on a couple of the models in our sets that we make, and those are fun to do. The pattern suggests using a single slide zipper or a double slide. I personally love using a double slide zipper because I like when it's closed to have the zipper pull sitting at the top. It's also easier to make if you use a double slide zipper because you can keep the zipper closed on both ends, and it just makes it easier to keep the ends together. We designed it so they have little gussets on each side so you don't have to worry about things falling out, and then they all nest together inside when you want to store them or when you want to gift them. And it's always really fun because you can put them all together and give them to someone, and they think you made them a bag, and by the time they've opened them up, they found you made them 5 bags or 1 bag, whichever you choose. One thing to know, and you probably know this already, Stacy, but if someone is brand new to these, I always recommend they start with one of the larger sizes, medium large or extra large. The smaller ones are a little more complicated because you're working in much tighter quarters. So the extra small would be the last one I make if I'm doing that as a set.
Yes, my rule is that no one is allowed to do the small size of anything in my class. They have to do either the largest one or the next one down, because the small ones, they tend to be fussy and then they have too hard of a time. So yeah, definitely the large one. And I have to share the one that I made. And you showed it earlier when you were showing the pictures, but I made this out of the Tula Pink ribbon.
Oh, so cute.
So it was a lot of fun to do. So I really enjoyed it.
That is fabulous. Did you make that all as one big piece of body, or did you do a front and a back and join them?
No, I did all one piece of body. So I took my Soft and Stable and I drew the template on top of it so that I would know where to do the ribbon. And then I stitched the ribbon down. And then that way, because I had the template there, I knew in the gaps I didn't need to have ribbon. So Smart. It kind of helped me conserve ribbon a little bit as well. So that was a lot of fun to do, actually.
That's a really great idea. So cute. I need to do that. I've got a bunch of ribbon that's sitting there, and I never think about it. So I need to dig that out. I love that idea.
Yeah, I was inspired, of course, by the one that she, the bags that she showed at Quilt Market last October in Houston. I think this is the case in point that she had done all in the ribbon, and so I decided I wanted to try it myself, and the clam up was a really good sized bag to do that on.
For sure. Is that the large or the extra large?
Large, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
I don't
cute.
think it's the extra large. It's the large. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
nice.
That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
All right. So then the next one was your favorite color, which is ByAnnie Blue, naturally. And so I had a little bit of a hard time. Really, this one I could pick anything. And then my rule for this one is to use blue fabric somewhere in the project. So we're going to do the all bottled up, which will be a lot of fun. And then they can put blue nail polish in it if they want to.
Great idea. I actually went to the box of models of all bottled up, and I couldn't find anything blue. So this is, I kind of consider turquoise a blue. It's got blue in it. So these are super fun. Do you have any of these that you've made?
I do. I have one of everything, of course. So the first one I made, I actually didn't do in blue. I just was making it. And then I realized if I'm going to have the rule that it has to be in blue, then I better make one in blue. So this was leftovers from the 2 big totes that I made. I made the large size. So this was leftover fabric for that. But then I had to have a blue one.
Oh, yeah.
So I did this one.
Oh, that's fun. That's super fun. So this is a set that we made with fabric from Amy Butler. And what I love about these is that if you've got somebody who does nail polish or essential oils, they're perfect for holding this. So this is the small one, and I don't know if you can see inside there, but it'll hold 8 bottles of essential oils or nail polish. The medium one holds 10. And what I love about it is that all sizes. So that's kind of a fat one. Here's a skinnier, taller one. Here's a really skinny one. You know, just any size is going to fit because you've got these pockets. Let's turn one inside out so I can show you the inside. So the pockets, they're really not pockets. They're like little sleeves kind of made out of fold over elastic or mesh bound with fold over elastic. So those go on each side, and then those will expand to hold, you know, whatever you want to put in them. I keep thinking one of these days we need to design one of these a little bit taller that could be used to hold pill bottles, you know, for people who have to take a lot of pills and carry them with them. But those are just super fun to make. No quilting on that project. Very little binding, just a little bit of binding here, and it's on the inside, so it doesn't really show. And those are just fun to make and use.
Yes, they are. And I think I have a couple of customers who might try and modify the mesh pockets to maybe hold thread spools as well. Make them a little wider.
Now, why have I not thought of that? It's been a while since this pattern was introduced. I may have thought about it at the time, but I haven't thought about that recently. So yeah, great idea. It'd be perfect for carrying little spools of thread if you're an applicator or a FPP, EPPer. All of those. Great idea. Yeah. All right. So was that June or July?
That was June.
Okay.
So then July, we have Ideal Vacation Getaway, and you have a book and the beach, which is also my ideal vacation getaway, but it's a little easier for me to do that than it is for you since I'm right here in California.
Lucky you. It's been a long time since I've been on a beach with a book, but it's going to have happen one of these days soon.
Yes. So since we're doing beach, we're going to do It's a Cinch. So that is the mesh bag. And so, you know, I did one in beachy fabric. So I did sunglasses with the hot pink. And we'll talk about this later, but I messed up on my pattern, but I was able to fix it. So at least I know all the things to not do for when we do the class. But this one was fun. So this one was, you know, a good lesson in working with mesh and keeping it from stretching as you are sewing. And then also, you know, covering up seams and just being really careful when you are sewing to make sure that everything lines up really well. But this was a super fun one. So I think we may also do the sun visor. I just got the pattern for that. I haven't made one yet. So time permitting that month, we will also do a sun visor. So I'm hoping that we'll have time for it.
Yeah, I think you would have time for both of those, especially if they do. In this case, I don't think they would have any trouble doing the smaller It's a Cinch because it's not that little and it's all flat. It's not like you're trying to bind around edges. This is a set that we made using fabric from Anna Maria Horner, and I love that this has mushrooms on it. I have my graphic artist for all of my patterns is a mushroomer, and so I made one of these for her because I had read that when you're out collecting mushrooms, It's nice if you put them in a mesh bag so that as you walk through the forest gathering more, the spores can be distributed because they go through the mesh. So I made that for her several years ago, about the time that we introduced the pattern. What I love about these too is if you're going to the beach, you can put your sunscreen and your book and all that stuff in there, lay it down in the sand, and when you lift it up, or if you've got sand toys, buckets and balls and all of that, the sand falls through and you don't have to worry about it, getting in the bottom of the bag and trying to turn it inside out. So that's the smallest. I think this is the medium. So you could put towels and wet swimsuits. The nice things about these too is if you want to just throw the whole bag with everything in it in the wash, you can do that. These are great places to add some embroidery. So if you are a machine embroiderer and you want to put a name on there or what it's for. And then this is the largest one. I have one of these hanging in my bathroom that it's probably way bigger than it needs to be, but all the bathroom blocks and the things the kids play with in the tub go in there, and I can throw them in there and they're not going to get moldy and yucky. They've got good air ventilation. This is also a great size for a laundry bag. Kids going off to college do it in their school colors, and they've got a great way to carry that. So it's a cinch. And then the sun visors. This is a set that we made kind of using some breast cancer awareness fabric, but this is a fun little pattern that comes with 3 styles in it. So you've got one that, on these we use a curly shoelace that you can just buy at, any store that carries shoes to fasten it, but it enables you to put it on your head and it makes it comfortable to wear. So I need to remember that I have these and dig them out, so when I'm sitting out in the sun reading, I'm shading my eyes a little bit. So that's the biggest one. Then there's a smaller one that goes on, and the nice thing is they're not totally flattening your hair like a hat would. And then this little one I really like because it's designed to go on your sunglasses. So you just take the loops at the end and hook them on your sunglasses or your regular glasses. And then when you put your glasses on, if you pull it out right, you've got a little visor and you're not worried about your hat falling off because it's connected to your glasses. So I know a lot of people who golf in particular like these because it shades their eyes enough from the sun, but super easy to do. And great little projects for using up leftover scraps of fabric and soft and stable. So those are fast and easy to do. I think that's a great choice for a summertime project.
Definitely. I look forward to making those. They look like a lot of fun. And it's nice seeing them actually on your head too. See how they fit.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one was, now I wrote your favorite board game and you crossed board out to favorite card game. And there was a bit of confusion on what the actual name of it was. You had written one thing, but then said, no, I think it's actually this. But I'd still never heard of it. So it's 5 crowns, and I still have not figured out how to play it. So I really had a hard time coming up with a project for this one. And I emailed you. I said, I don't have a clue what to do. Give me some ideas. So we did figure something out. So I'm going to do, because I'm kind of taking a play on the word crown and how it is or used to be, money in Great Britain or in England. So we're kind of play on that one, and we're doing the So Simple wallet and then also the Petit Four basket, because both of those are super quick and easy things to do that I know that they can finish, very easily.
For sure. For sure. So let me tell you a little bit about 5 crowns. I learned about this from my sister who had played it with friends. It's a card game. It's kind of like a rummy game, but there's extra cards, so it goes all the way up to, it has 5 suits instead of just 4. And each time you play, you start with 3 and you deal everybody 3 cards, and 3 is wild. And then the next time you deal 4 cards and 4 is wild, all the way up to kings, and you deal 13 cards and kings are wild. So the little tag on it is the game's not over till the kings go wild. But it's a super fun game to play. And the hardest thing for me is remembering which card is wild, because it changes every time. And it's so easy to throw away the wild card thinking you don't need that card. but super fun to play. And I thought a petit four basket is perfect because you can use it to store the cards, or you can put your chocolate in there so that you have your snacks while you're playing the card game. It doesn't take up a ton of room on the table, perfect for that. And then if you're a betting game player, the little So Simple wallet is perfect for putting your earnings in as you go. So these are super fun and easy to make. They come in 3 styles. So we have one that has just 1 pocket, and we sized it so it's deep enough that your money fits in that pocket. Then we have one that has 2 pockets, and in that case, the back pocket is deep enough for money. The other pockets are shorter so that your credit cards stick out enough that you can see them. And then we have one that's styled with 3 pockets. So 1 in the back and then 2 for there. And the pockets are all big enough that you can put multiple credit cards in there. I use one of these in my purse to carry my business cards. I have a separate one for my credit cards and my ID cards, all those things that I need. But super easy to make and really fun if you're looking for a quick and easy gift for men, women, or children. Anybody can use a little wallet. So great choices on that one too.
I thought they were creative. Okay, so that one was August. So now September, we did favorite designer. So you had put Billy Rue, who we actually, as a shop, we don't carry Billy Rue's fabric. So I asked for some other ones. And so you gave some really great ones. A lot of them we do carry. You like one of my favorites, Natalie Barnes. So I had a rule for this one that you had to use one of the designer's fabrics. So we have Cave, Tula Pink, Juicy Juice, Natalie Barnes. Those are, ones that we carry. I know that you had other ones, but those are the ones that we have in the shop. And so we are doing the project bag, which is another great, easy, or they can do a peacekeeper because they're kind of the same. Another great, easy one. To be perfectly honest, I haven't actually taught the project bag class. My mom has taught it 100 million times. I did teach the Peacekeeper, which, like I said, is very similar. So this will be the first time teaching the actual project bag, but I have no worries that I'll be just fine with that. But they need to use the fabric somewhere on there, whether it's, the binding or a border or the whole thing. So that's my rule for this one.
That's super fun. And project bags are one of our best-selling patterns. It's right up there with Clam Up. And I think, again, what people love about these is they use little bits of fabric. They're easy to do, and they have lots of versatility. And depending on the fabric you choose, they can just look totally different. So the pattern includes 4 sizes. This is the jumbo. This is the large. This is the medium. And this is the small. The small one is just a vinyl pocket with borders at the top and a binding. On all the others, there's a border at the bottom, and you can do that either as a pieced border or you can do it as a solid border and embellish it if you'd like. We did some Renaissance ribbons on there to embellish that. So, and all of them, we worked really hard to make sure that you have a beautiful ByAnnie finish when you're done. So when you lift these up, you've got fabric on each side. When you look inside at the border is lined as well, so you don't have raw edges to catch on whatever you put inside there. They're just really well made, and you learn a lot of techniques. This is a great one because it has squared off edges to learn how to miter borders on a quilt. You can make, by the time you finish all 4 of these, you're going to be an expert at mitering corners. Where when you're binding a big quilt, how often do you make a quilt? Once a year. You don't get that much chance to practice it, and you only have 4 corners on a quilt. So here you're doing 16 corners in a day. You're going to know how to do mitered borders when you're done with this. If you don't want to do mitered borders, then Peacekeeper. I mean, you could certainly round the corners on there. But this one is designed to have rounded corners. This one has a mesh pocket rather than a vinyl pocket. On either one of them, you could mix and match if you choose. This is one that I made when we did our sew-along in February for doing FPP. We did the FPP Flying Geese border, and then all of them have a little handle, so you can pick them up and carry them to class or hang them on a hook. You can hang them over a coat hanger and hang them in the closet if you've got stuff like that. Super fun to do. This is a fun one that I found as I was getting ready, where we did, instead of a pieced border, we did a chalkboard border down here. So if you had things in here that you wanted to label, you could write on there with your chalkboard markers and keep track of what's inside here, your project that you're working on, where you finished. We designed this one for someone who wanted to take this when they take the baby to the doctor for the checkups. You can keep all your papers in here that you need and all your records. So I have one of these hanging on my door at home that I have for physical therapy, all the exercises that they give me and my bands and all that stuff. I've got all of those together, and it just hangs on my door so it's easy to find when it's time to do my exercises. So that's another fun project. Lots of ways to use it.
Great idea. I love having the chalkboard fabric on there. That's a really good idea. Okay, so then the last question, so I only given you 10. I don't know why I didn't do 12, but I only did 10. But the last one was, I wanted to know what your favorite ByAnnie pattern was, and you did the catch-all caddy, which blows my whole one-day bag idea out of the water. So this one we're spreading across 2 months. We're going to do this one in October and November. So I'm going to have a certain point that they need to be done, you know, at the October class, or if they don't get to that point, they need to get to that point before the November class. And because of how our classroom schedule is, I think there's really only about 3 weeks in between instead of 4 weeks. So it'll make it actually a little bit easier to do this as a 2-day class. So that one will be, you know, October and November. They don't have to do the catch-all caddy. If that one is too big, then they can do the in control, or if they want to, they could do the road trip if they wanted something bigger, because they're all basically, you know, constructed in a similar way. So
for sure.
But yeah, that one's for October and November.
All right. So for anybody who isn't familiar with what those patterns look like, this is catch-all caddy. I think it's my favorite because it is so incredibly versatile. I have one of these in my sewing room on my work table. I have one at my desk. I have one in my bathroom. I've made lots of them as baby shower gifts for putting diapers and things in. There's just so many ways to use them. So they've got pockets all the way around the bag. They have little padded handles that makes it easy to pick it up and carry it. And then on the inside, rather than having pockets that are sewn at the bottom, it has what we call bellowed dividers. So if, for instance, you want to carry your water with you, you can put it in there and it's not going to fall over. It's going to be held in place, but the pocket expands to fit it so it goes all the way down and rests on the bottom. This is one that we made using Tula Pink fabrics, and we fussy cut the dogs to fit all the way around. That's fun to do. So for people who are more advanced, that's a fun one to take it to the next level. We did, here's its little sister, which is called In Control. You can see it. It's about 60% smaller. And we have one of these sitting by every sewing machine at home and at work, so that everything that you need while you're sewing is right there. That is a fabulous one. And then Road Trip is the great big sister, the grandma or the mama. And it is designed to go in the car. So very much the same construction. It's got the bellowed pockets on the inside. Since it's bigger, we did double pockets on the outside. So we did a quilted pocket with a mesh pocket on top, a zippered pocket on one end, and we added tabs on here so you can carry it with a strap. And then we also added, because our thought was that this could go in the back seat between the kids sitting on each side. This could go in between them, and they could put their snacks and their books and their toys and everything in there. So we made a little strip here that can hook through the seatbelt tab and fasten so that this doesn't fly off the seat when you slam on the brakes. So that is called Road Trip, Catch-All Caddy, and In Control. Super fun, and I think taking that over 2 weeks is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So that was all the questions.
That is so much fun. So that covered 11 months. You're not going to do anything in month 12?
So for month 12, I think we're going to do kind of like a wrap-up party. Hopefully everyone has kept, maybe they've gifted their projects, but hopefully everyone has kept them or made more of them. And then hopefully we can all kind of come together and have a show and tell, maybe talk about like things that they learned and what they liked about it, and brainstorm for next year. I don't know if they're going to want to have a next year. presuming that they do. So if they do, then we'll have to come up with a whole nother list of questions for you and projects.
Yeah, I love
But
that
I may
idea.
also, for the party, I kind of want to do, I know that you had done in December for your live video, something about all the traditions that you and your, employees do. And I remember
Uh-huh.
you had said something about, you make crepes and you have sliced strawberries with them. So I thought maybe that I can find a way to get a hot plate and make some crepes for the party and have strawberries since they're local to our area,
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of incorporate something that you like into something that we like. So
What a
so
great
that
idea.
covers all 12.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love that idea. That is so fantastic. And it was so much fun to see the photos of your customers' projects and seeing how much fun they were all having together as they worked on them. I can't wait to see more photos as the year goes by. And it's got to be really fun for you to see people catch kind of that bag making bug. Um, that's just got to be really fun, especially if they've never tried it before. And you did a really great job of picking projects that will gradually ease them into, catch all catty at the end. So hopefully those people that are doing it will be participating throughout the year. I really love hearing that. I'm wondering if you ever hear people say, "Oh, I'll just make one bag," and you just know they're lying to themselves.
All the time. So a lot of those new people that were there in January, February, and March, particularly the ones who made Call Me, they were not bag makers. They had never made a bag before, and they complained about how this was so far out their wheelhouse, and they weren't sure how if they were even going to finish it. And through a lot of encouragement and a lot of hand holding, I got them through it. And then they said, "Wow, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that." And then a week later they'll say, "Oh, I went somewhere and my sister saw this and now she wants me to make one, for her as well." So then I know that they've caught that bag making bug, and I'll be seeing them in later classes, definitely.
That's awesome.
It's
Thank you.
an addiction, I think.
Yeah. And I read that all the time in that bag makers group on Facebook. I see so many people who say, "I just made my first ByAnnie bag and I'm hooked." I can see I'm
Yes.
not stopping at one. That's great.
Yeah.
So, in addition to this bag club that you're doing, I know you've also taught a lot of ByAnnie classes. What is the biggest mistake that you see beginners make when they're making ByAnnie bags?
This is a good one. By not reading the pattern and not watching the video. That is my number one rule for the class. Other than if you don't have your homework done, don't come to my class. So I send out an email about a month before saying, this is what you need to do for your homework. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to read the entire pattern and watch all the videos that come with it. If it has videos. And, I say, maybe you're not going to understand what you're reading and you won't understand what you're watching, but at least it gets you exposed to it. And then when you are in class, you get to that point where you had no idea what they were talking about. Then you realize, oh, that's what it was saying, or, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. And that, I think, is key to really being successful at this. In addition to reading the pattern while you're making the bag and marking off each step. I am definitely, definitely guilty probably every single time I make a bag of not reading every single instruction, and then I end up having to undo something. In fact, I made the two big totes and thought I had it all done, and I'm showing it off saying, "How lovely is this?" And I see a stray thread and I think, "Oh, I need to pull that." Well, then I realized I had a raw edge and I
Oh,
didn't
no.
read the instructions. So I am guilty of it myself, but that is the number one thing, is to read the pattern.
Yeah, and I have to be totally honest that I have to remind myself to read the pattern too, because there's so many times when, it's like, I wrote the pattern, surely I know what to do. And I'm sewing along great guns, and all of a sudden it's like, shoot, forgot to do that. And then I've got my seam ripper out, and there I go.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely get that. So have you seen a difference between how new bag makers approach a pattern compared to how an experienced bag maker approaches a pattern?
Definitely. So the new people are like on the Call Me bag, they were freaked out about the zipper. And I said, honestly, that's the easiest part. That's not the part that you should be worried about. They're worried about the the hardware and the zippers. And honestly, those are the easiest things. My experienced bag makers know what the hard part is, and that's the binding. Always, always the binding, always the very last part. But I find that, my more experienced people, they come in, they're a little bit more relaxed. Yes, they're anticipating, the hard part of the binding, but they know what to expect. They know what's coming. They know how everything is set out. And so they're a little bit more relaxed about it. And they come in more prepared because they know what to expect. Whereas the new people, oh, I didn't cut that, or, oh, I didn't know I needed to do that. So that would,
Yep.
that would be the main thing. And I do a lot of hand holding in my classes. But definitely I encourage them to read the pattern.
Yep. And it doesn't matter how many times you say it, that you still have to remind them
Nope.
every time. Well, I
Yes.
have to say, we really appreciate your efforts to get people to that more experienced stage, because it really is nice when you get to that level and doing the project is enjoyable and relaxing rather than stressful, because it shouldn't be stressful. This should be fun.
Right.
Since you and your customers have made so many ByAnnie bags, I'm wondering if you have a favorite or something that's been a really big hit in your group.
So the big hit, of course, is the project bag. Like I said, my mom taught that numerous times. I've assisted in her class. I mean, she was teaching that before I was doing any of the ByAnnie bags. That was the only ByAnnie bag that we really taught before I really got into the bags. And she had taught it, I don't know, probably 10 times. She's like, are we ever going to be done with this? So I think that's probably the most popular one and the most requested one, but also the clam up, which, as I said before, is probably my least favorite. I love the bag. I really do. I have one, I use it, but it's my least favorite to construct.
And that's what I was curious about. So, what is it about that one that you don't like or that's difficult for you?
It's not that it's difficult. I just don't like the gusset. I don't like how the gusset goes in. I don't know why. The first one I made, I thought, I don't like this. But I mean, it comes out very nice, and it's not that it's hard to do. It's just, to me, it's fussy, but I do it. I
You
might
do it.
whine about it, but I do
You
it.
suck it up, Buttercup, and it
That's
happens.
right.
Yeah. So when I read that when we were talking earlier, I said I've got to tell Stacy about Hot and Heavy, because Hot and Heavy is similar to Clam Up. As you can see, it's got kind of that taco shape, just like those did. It's got the zipper that goes all the way down the side. It has the gusset. But we do the zipper differently on this by binding the bag and then attaching the zipper, which means that we also do the gusset a little bit differently. So if you haven't tried this one, and it's a little bit bigger, which sometimes makes it easier too, and it's got handles and straps, it makes a great little purse. We designed this as a way to carry your little Clover mini iron or a regular iron, but you might give that one a try and see if it's easier for you. And there's no reason you
I
couldn't
did
take
do one.
these techniques and apply them to that. Was it better?
Exactly. And that's what I thought about. It was a little bit, it was a little bit easier, still a little on the fussy side, but I do like the binding on the top. And I do know that there is a hack to bind the clam up, similar to the hot and heavy. So
Yeah.
yes, I'll have to give it a try before we do the class in May. I will change how I make it and see if I like it better. Maybe it'll
Yeah.
become my new favorite.
Maybe you just never know. So the hack for doing the binding on the clam up is that they bind the bag and then they sew it to the zipper. And when we got ready to do this, we said we don't really like the way the zipper gets wavy on the inside when you do that. So we thought, let's see if we can figure out another way to do that. So now we attach the zipper and then we bind it, and that kind of solves that problem. And I think makes it easier because you're not trying to get it lined up in there. So, something to consider. All right, go ahead and move down, Glow. Let me see where we were headed next. We've talked about hot and heavy. All right, my next question for you was, do you have any advice for quilt shops or groups that might want to start their own bag club?
Yes. So my advice is pick simple projects, and be prepared. So you also have to kind of know your customers' abilities. if you're dealing with people who are, very new to bag making, then obviously you want to go with the much simpler projects rather than starting off with, something more difficult. And I chose, the only reason I chose 1-day projects was because of the popularity of our classroom. I could only fit in single-day classes. So that was the reason behind the more simple projects, as opposed to doing the more complicated bags that we could do in a 2 or 3-day class. But knowing your customers' abilities is definitely key. You want them to walk away feeling accomplished and feeling like, hey, this bag making, this is kind of cool, I want to keep doing it, and get them hooked on that. So I would say definitely knowing what your customers can do and knowing what you can do, and how much patience you have to walk them through everything is a really good thing. I also do a giveaway every class. So for example, in the January class, because it was watch TV and take a nap, and we were doing the snuggle pillow, I gave away a blanket and a book. So you can snuggle with your pillow, and have your book to read and cover up with a nice blanket. So I do a giveaway each time. February was chocolate, of course. And then I also kind of explain my thought process on, similar to how we did, what the question was, what your answer was, and then how I got to the project. So I explain how I go from tacos to clam ups, because sometimes that can be confusing the way my brain works. Although I thought that was kind of a natural one.
I agree.
Yes. And then also really promote your class. I have a table set up in the front of our shop with the various projects on there, for at least the next couple of months, to really get, some excitement on there. I have a stack of our t-shirts on there, and with no actual sign, just the bag ladies. So they kind of have to ask. So that gives me a chance to show my passion for the bags and for my Bag Ladies Club. And I think that if you show enthusiasm for something, then that helps get your customers really excited about it. And you have to be, you have to have enthusiasm about it. Don't just do it because someone says you need to do it. If this is something that you are passionate about, then I think it's much, much easier to get your customers to be passionate about it too. And then that leads into more and more and more, and you just go down that rabbit hole. But, if someone wants to do one of these, I think it'd be fantastic. Imitation is the best form of flattery. So I would love it if someone, another shop or several shops were to do something like this. Hopefully you don't get inundated though with lists of questions from shop owners.
It didn't take very long at all to fill that out. It was super easy, and I was more than happy to do it. And those were really some great tips. I know that a lot of people who watch Live with Annie are shop owners or employees or teachers. So thank you so much for sharing that information. And I certainly agree that passion and enthusiasm is so important and so contagious. And there's really just nothing better than sewing with friends and learning from each other. So thank you for doing that. I know when I teach classes, I get so much inspiration because I get to see all the different fabric choices that people make, the personal touches that they put into their bags, and that's all really motivating to me too. So people who attend classes are just winning in so many ways. So thank you for doing that.
Definitely. Yeah, we see it all the time. People in classes, even if they get one thing, and it may not even be from the instructor, but if they get one thing from the class, I see it as as a success. And a lot of times it's seeing what other people are doing that just inspires them to, do something else with theirs. So it's really fun. And I love seeing all the different fabric choices. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so much variety. And one thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the programs is we have a Project of the Month booklet that we put together that groups things for easy. It gives kind of skill levels needed. There's lots of different themes. So if you're a store owner and looking for ideas, that's available in our wholesale resources. It's a downloadable file, or we'll have printed new ones for the shows that we do. So ask for that too. That's always good information. But I really appreciate hearing that you've done this with ByAnnie patterns and that your customers have felt good about making what they're doing. Our goal is always to make bag making approachable and fun. It's fun to come up with new patterns and teach new skills, and it's especially fun when you see other people mastering them. So thank you for doing that.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right, speaking of being a shop owner, what would you say are the biggest joys and challenges you have of running a local quilt shop?
So definitely the quilting community. I have made so many friends just by being here at the shop. And that's a really good thing. And then having customers come in and they've got to make a baby quilt or something, and they need some ideas on the fabric, and so you help them pick the fabric, and then they go home and they make it. And then when they bring it back and they show you, or they come in another time and you say, hey, how's that quilt going? That, and they're surprised that you remember that, and then they're just so happy to show off what they've made. That's really a lot of, it's self-satisfying. It's knowing that what we're doing in the shop is really making a difference in someone else's life. And so I think that's probably the biggest joy of owning the quilt shop. Biggest challenge is keeping up with everything, keeping up with what's new, and what the trends are and what our customers are going to want. And then also trying to deal with some of the big box stores and the online retailers. I think that's a little difficult, and getting new younger customers in, that's also a big challenge currently, especially with a lot of the ever since COVID, most people are buying online, and so trying to get them to not order online and come into the shop to purchase, and making quilting fun again, making quilting good for young people. I think that's a challenge too. So hopefully with the bag making, though, we'll get some younger customers in and get them knowing the joy of fabric.
Fabric, yeah, for sure. And that's so important. People have got to realize that they've got to support the local shops if they want them to be there. And all of the work that you put in, that's so important to being able to continue to keep it going. So thank you for doing that. There's really something special about bringing people together to be creative, and I love that. Can you go down, Joe? Go ahead and go. We've done that. Keep going. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. So just some final thoughts. If people want to connect with you, if they want to do your classes, where do they find you?
So they can find us online at our website, which is www.oldtownquiltshop.orcutt, and that's ORCUTT.com. So all of our classes are online. Almost all of the product in our shop is on our website, so you can definitely find us there. You can also send us an email, oldtownquiltshop@gmail.com. You can call us at the shop. The number is 805-938-5870. Or you can come into the shop. That's, obviously the best way is to come in and see what we have going on. And we're located in the central coast of California. So we're about, if you know where Santa Barbara is, we're about an hour north of Santa Barbara. So not that far from Los Angeles either. We're near Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, which is a great college. So you can come in and see our shop. We're on Clark Avenue. We're in a cute little town. Lots of things going on in there. So it's really a lot of fun, and we'd love to see you.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. I know you're not planning to come to H&H or Houston this year, but I will look forward to catching up with you through the photos you send from your classes, and I'll look forward to maybe seeing you at one of those shows again next year. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us, and for all of your work to keep customers inspired and creative. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So I hope that you all enjoyed hearing from a local quilt shop owner, seeing the fun things that they do. Remember, support your local quilt shops. Having them stay strong and vibrant is up to all of us, and they're not going to exist if we're not there. I want to talk a little bit about testicular cancer. We did post a blog. I know this has gone a little long today, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about it, but I do want to show you a special project that I made using their color, which is Orchid. We posted a blog that talks all about testicular cancer. It's got the risk factors, the treatment options, things that you need to pay attention to. It's a rare but serious disease. It affects young men, usually younger men, so check that out and let your loved ones know about that. But the color for testicular cancer is Orchid, and we wanted to do something that would be kind of a little bit more masculine. So we took the orchid fabrics that we got from our friends at Andover Fabrics, and we worked those together into a fun bag with kind of a geometric design on it. So we had, this color was called Orchid, and I wanted it to kind of be the focus on here. I loved how well it went with our new Orchid color zipper. And then we picked a darker one called Aubergine, a more medium one called Mulberry, and a lighter one called Pressed Flower. We used that one for the outside, this for the inside. Don't forget that if you want to make a project using the colors that we've chosen this year for the various cancers, we do have a chart on our website. We had 16 different manufacturers send us fabrics, and we picked colors to do that. You can find that either on our blog or by going to the SewPINK page at ByAnnie.com. So just ByAnnie.com/SewPINK. If you want to make your own one of these, this is made using our Easy Does It pattern, which is part of our ByAnnie bag making, our ByAnnie Basics series. It's a free pattern. You can download it at our website. It includes a video, so you can take that and watch all the steps to do that. When you go to our website, just search for ByAnnie Basics, and then when you get to there, don't forget to click on Join the Course so that all the materials, the patterns, and the videos are available to you. For this one, again, we used these 4 colors. I chose a geometric pattern to do on the outside, and then I used the darker one for the zipper strips, the side strip, and the back. And to bring this orchid out more, I used it for the handle. I knew that I wanted something that would be kind of masculine looking, so I went into EQ and I downloaded a block pattern. If you've never used Electric Quilt, which is what EQ is, it's Electric Quilt software, you can go through their library of blocks and find blocks. So this is the block that I started with. It's called a snowball something, an overlapped snowball corner. It's designed to be a square block. And I knew I wanted the block to exactly fit the front of this bag, which is not square. And I wanted to combine several of these blocks so that I could get that cool secondary design that the blocks put together creates. So EQ, if you've never used it, makes it super easy to customize a block. So rather than printing this as a square block, I knew that my bag front needed to measure 6.5 inches high and 9.5 inches wide. So I divided each of those numbers in half. I got 3.25 high by 4.75 wide. And then I knew that I could put 4 of them together to fit that. And I just went into EQ, and when I went to print the pattern, I said, make me an FPP pattern that is sized this way. So it printed out, this is what each block then looked like. So rather than being a square pattern, I now had rectangular patterns, and it printed them out. So it printed out the patterns for each one. I knew that I needed to mirror image one of them so that they're not going, so that they made this kind of triangular or whatever you call that, round going around. So I just printed 2 of them mirror image, 2 of them plain, and then pieced them. After I had my blocks sewn together, I quilted the front and the lining with my Soft and Stable. I just stitched in the ditch between all the seams, and I added some echo quilting in some of the sections. And then for the rest of it, I don't know if you can see this, but I did some really random lines of stitching. Not so close? Right there? Oh, right here? Okay. I thought I had to be closer. So I did these. This was a technique that my friend Greta from Germany demonstrated when she was our guest on Live with Annie last summer. It was super fun and super easy. So if you missed that episode or you want to watch it again, just go to ByAnnie.com live and search for season 4, episode 32, because she had some really fun ideas, and that made it super easy to quilt that and give it a unique look. So other than that change to the front of the bag, I made this just like the pattern is designed. So it's going to make a great bag for anyone who's undergoing cancer treatment. It can hold snacks, tech gear, toiletries. It would also be a great gift to support anyone who's facing testicular cancer or their caregiver. So I hope that you enjoyed learning about how we customize this pattern to make a more masculine bag, and that it might inspire you to make something to spread awareness of cancer and testicular cancer in particular too. All right, we're going to move on quickly to some announcements. Randy Jones, who is founder of the amazing ByAnnie Bag Makers group on Facebook, is hosting a slow along for our pattern tools of the trade at her website, which is randysroost.com. Randy does this on her own website. It's not part of the Bag Makers group, and it's not part of the ByAnnie website. But bag makers really rave about the instruction and help that they get. So if a slow along is new to you, let me explain a little bit about what it is. So it's a slow sew along. So it's all about slowing down, enjoying the process, giving yourself really a chance to learn the good techniques that are going to help you get more enjoyment out of your projects. So her slow along for this project is going to last for 7 weeks. That gives you a week to catch up. And it's ideal if you've got a job, if you have a busy schedule, or if you're a beginner and this is all new to you. So the thing about it is the slow along starts this coming Saturday, which is April 5th, and registration closes today. So cost is a very reasonable $12. Just go to Randy's website, randysroost.com, follow the link to pay, fill out the registration form, and then you're going to follow a link. She'll send you an email with a link to the private face group book that the slow along takes place in. So contact Randy at her website if you have any questions about any of that. But that's going to be a great one. I also want to remind you that the deadline is fast approaching for the Cherrywood Abyss Challenge. Cherrywood fabric makes really amazingly beautiful hand-dyed fabrics with a beautiful suede look, and I meant to have my fabric here and totally forgot it. It's sitting at home where I was trying to finish a bag that I made using it, didn't get that far. But the challenge, they come up with a theme each year. This year's theme is Abyss, which is designed to feature creatures from the deep. And the collection includes fabrics in blues, aquas, and then some little droplets of color to add all those mysterious sparkles that are found in creatures of the deep. So as a gold sponsor for the challenge, ByAnnie designed a new cut of Soft and Stable, which is a 21.5-inch square, so that makers could use that when quilting their challenge quilts. Soft and Stable not only gives really amazing body and stability to purses and bags, but it is really perfect for wall hangings too, because it gives great dimension to the quilting. It's also a really strong and sturdy base for applique, embroidery, and any other embellishments that you want to add. So again, I didn't get my project done that I wanted to show you. I'm going to have to show you that another time. But if you are interested in participating, the deadline is only 6 weeks away. You've got time still to make something, or if you just want to collect the fabric to use in a ByAnnie bag or other project, gather that while they're still available. So May 15th is the deadline, and we're really going to look forward to seeing what you create. And you can find all the details about the fabric bundles and the challenge at the Cherrywood website, and we've put up the link to make that easy for you to find. One last reminder. We want to remind you that our friends at Shop Hop Inc. have organized some really great shop hops for the coming months. I got to have a drink before I go on. There's an all Texas shop hop and an all Florida shop hop that go until the end of April. And then in April and May, there are going to be shop hops in the Pacific Northwest, Kansas and Nebraska, and Minnesota. And in May and June, there will be brand new shop hops in New York and Indiana. So that is a ton of shop hops, a lot of amazing stores that you can support. I think you need to just plan a road trip. And remember that a lot of these shops are going to be displaying ByAnnie trunk shows, so take advantage of the opportunity to see our models up close and personal. And thank you again to everyone who joined us today. Since we are going to be in Chicago for the H&H Americas Wholesale Show on the first Wednesday of May, we are going to be postponing our May episode to Wednesday, May 14th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And at that time, we are going to be joined by the fabulous Giuseppe Rubato of Juicy Juice to talk about his awesome fabrics, his incredible paper piecing skills, and more. So mark your calendars now to join us on May 14th. And until then, happy stitching!